But I wanted to end with this final question. I'm a big fan of Immortal games. My favorite chess book is the top 50 grandmasters of all time,
Right.
and from there I got to learn about the different personalities. Like Kasparov is like famous, like rook sack that
Rookie
should have
seven.
went wrong, but he did it, and that's the beauty of chess, right? But I got to learn, I got to fall in love with Capablanca games. Oh, so dominant, just intuitively precise, especially endgame. I fell in love with endgames because of him,
Yep.
and I didn't think I need to. I always consider my endgames the strongest. Now I don't practice enough, so it's something like you gotta get back into. But I want to know about your Immortal game to finish this off. What is the one oh I don't know if I'm the right. We have a board here. You guys can't see it, but hopefully it was white or you. Or
I was white. I was white.
Okay, good. So I want to know your Immortal game where it's like.
Well, here's the context. I was playing in Oakville, and it's 2019, so it's on my path to getting the IM title. I already had 2 norms, and I was playing fellow Canadian, a friend. His name is Mike Ivanov, and it's really one of the best games I've ever played. The one thing I want to do before I show you this game is I want to say that, you mentioned your father, and for me, I wouldn't have even started playing chess if it wasn't for him. Forget about the fact that he taught me every time I travel was with him. World Youths, Canadian tournaments, it's with him. Even now, that's how we kind of keep our bond. It's chess. Our relationship is different than the ones he has with his daughters or the ones that I have with my mom, just because we've spent so much time together just purely on chess tournaments. Funny enough, most people, everyone in the Canadian chess scene knows who my dad is.
I played him recently, 2 weeks ago.
But most people don't know who my mom is ever because she never comes because, I'm always with my dad. And so because of that, my father and I, very close bond. He taught me how to play, and every tournament I'd ever play in, he's always there with me, especially through the losses, making sure to notify me that I played poorly.
Yeah.
So here I am. I'm 2350, and I had started hot. I think I have, 1.5 out of 2 or 2.5 out of 3. I'm paired against Mike Ivanov, and I think it was 2.5 out of 3. So I played. With white, I play many pieces and many different openings. I played c4. This move is very flexible. There's many different options.
It's one of my favorite openings.
Yes, it's very flexible. There's not much to know. Ivanov responds with e5.
Yeah.
And funny enough, Mike is actually a colleague of mine. He and I work for the same company. We both teach for the same company. Mm-hmm. He's now trying hard to get his IM title. He has 4 norms, but he doesn't have the rating. So he's now, I think, in Sweden or something trying to get.
Jeez, imagine having 4 norms.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I played knight c3.
Yeah.
He plays knight f6. I played knight f3, and he plays knight c6. So we have the 4 knights, but I have the pawn on c4. He has the pawn on e5. There's many different options here: d3, e3, a3, g3. And Magnus had recently brought a new idea, which is the move e4.
Yeah, I've been slowly playing that online to see if I can get used to that with chess, because it actually reminds me of low key of my Moroxy bind, which
it's almost like a Moroxy. In fact, this opening will lead to a Moroxy bind structure. Now, typically with the Moroxy bind, there's a pawn on c5, not the pawn on e5.
Yeah.
But the main idea behind this opening is, if they bring out their bishop to c5, which is the most natural square, I always teach my students, put bishops on open diagonals hitting the center. The problem is the very classic sacrifice. I can take the pawn on e5, and when the knight takes back on e5, I have this fork on d4. Mm-hmm. It seems like, at best, when the bishop moves back, I take the knight, he takes back. I've regained material, and that's it. But what I've done in the process is I've opened up my dark square bishop on c1, and so it has a bunch of squares here. And what a lot of people think is when I take on e5, that they're able to take on f2, saying, okay, after king f2, knight e5, and white's king is not castled. But I'm able to go d4. Yeah, I get the full center control. e5 is coming next. This one check with knight g4, I can go king g1. Yeah. The knight will be kicked out with bishop e2. I'm also threatening e5, hitting the knight on f6. h3 is a move. And I just have a huge spatial advantage. My king is not necessarily weak. I don't really need to be worried about my rook being locked in. I need to worry about developing my manu pieces first. Mm-hmm. So going back to that position with the 4 knights, after I play the move e4, bishop b4 is now a move that I think most people play. It's considered the move that gives equality. But Mike plays the move g6.
Oh.
After a long thought. And so the idea is simple. He wants, after d4, ed knight takes, to be able to go bishop g7. He wants to fink out of that bishop.
This literally is Moroxy.
This is Moroxy. Usually the pawn is on e7, not c7. Okay, so I play bishop e3. Plays d6. He's trying to jump that knight into g4. Okay, I of course have many options here, so I play the move f3. So just getting that typical Maroczy, he castles. Now I play queen d2.
You would never think they start off as an English.
No, you wouldn't. Although a lot of English openings typically down transpose to what this looks a lot like those King's Indian setups. Now I could have taken the knight. He plays something. There's many. You can get away with many different moves here. And in the game, he plays the move bishop d7.
Yeah.
I play bishop e2. Again, I'm kind of flexible as to where I castle. And he has many choices here. I think he could play rook e8. You have knight e5. You could go a6. And basically, everything I'm showing transposes one line to another. And okay, you have this typical setup. So he goes knight e5, castle.
So why queenside at this time?
I could have castled kingside, but I felt like I wanted to start a kingside attack.
Yeah.
And so that's why I did this. Plays a6. Play g4.
Almost like now a Sicilian dragon.
Yeah, b5.
One of my old favorite openings of all time.
We're both going at each other's throats here. He even, at one point, the rook e8, h5. This is the typical structure. He plays the move c5. Played knight c2. He played b4, hitting my knight.
Yeah.
So I played knight d5, centralizing it. And now he plays a move that, I didn't really foresee. And this is where the game starts becoming interesting. Obviously, it's already quite interesting. I have the structure e4, f3, g4, h5 on the king side.
Yeah. And
obviously, he has this d6, c5, b4, a6 pawns ready to attack on the queen side. He goes knight e takes g4.
That's seen in some dragon lines.
Yeah, the idea is after f takes, you're absolutely right, that when the knight comes to e4, the bishop lines up. And obviously, there's many reasons to be scared. Before I even capture his knight, I say, wait a second, let's just take the pawn on g6 so I can open my rook. It could be useful further. He takes back with the h pawn. And so I take f takes g4.
No fear.
Knight e4. I have to.
Yeah.
And now I could have brought my queen to d3, but I thought, okay, I'm going to play queen e1. Now I have maybe the idea of entering through the h file.
Potentially getting rid of this queen because all his attacking potential goes down.
Luckily for me, funny enough, you mentioned that, he just ignores and he goes straight for my king. He goes queen a5. So now he's threatening them a pawn to then mate me, so I have to defend.
Yeah.
Plays rook b8. Or does he actually... I want to make sure I get the move right. Yeah, he plays bishop a4 first, trying to get rid of the knight. So I play rook d3. Trying to defend. So if he takes my knight, I'm thinking, okay, if he takes the pawn on a2, maybe I have rook b3 kind of closing everything in so I can focus on the king side. He plays rook b8. And so I say, okay, this is all too scary. I have to just start my own thing. So I play queen h4. He goes knight c3. I takes, check. Go king a1. He plays bishop here. Now I'm really nervous because he's threatening me.
Yes.
But luckily for me, I have a mate in 11.
No way. You calculate a mate in 11?
The advantage of having such positions is you're forced to do so. So I go queen h7, king f8.
You should let me try to figure it out. No, I'm not gonna.
Queen takes g7 check. King takes g7. Bishop h6. This is all obvious. And the thing is, I played this in 30 seconds. A lot of people ask me, like, how did you sack your queen? It was like my only option. I'm getting mated.
Yeah, there's no other way.
If he moves his king to g8 or to h7, it's the same thing. I go knight f6 check, king h8, and now I can move my bishop to f8 and it's checkmate. If he goes to h7, it's the same check with bishop f8 mate again. So he plays king h8, go bishop g5. Now my idea is if he goes king g7, I go bishop f6, and then it's back rank mate on h8. Yeah. So he plays a move king g8, knight f6 check, king f8, rook h8. Now he doesn't want to lose that rook with the discovery, so he goes king g7, rook h7, and he believes that I at least have a perpetual. And so I'm satisfied with that. But then I realize, okay, worst case I have a perpetual with knight d7, knight f6. But I realized, okay, I can go bishop f6 check, bishop h6 check. He goes king e7.
Oh!
So I play rook e3.
Oh my god!
If he takes the knight on f6, it's a mate in 2. And I saw this from afar, and I thought that at best I have a perpetual with bishop g7, bishop h6. But then I realized g5, and then rook f7 is checkmate.
Oh my god!
So
Oh my god.
He plays king d8. I take his rook.
Yeah, I saw that. And then rook
I take this pawn. And he plays king. If he plays king b6, I take the rook with check. So he plays king c6. I go bishop f3 g.
Yeah.
And now, checkmate.
Oh my god.
Now I didn't see this. I took on d5. And here, funny enough, I don't have one maiden one. I have 5 maiden ones.
Don't worry, this will be on the screen. But
bishop f8, rook e6, rook
god.
b7, and knight e4.
Wow.
That is one of the greatest games I have ever played in my life.
Wow. And you're like staring down a barrel of maiden one. You're like, I gotta keep checking this guy. It's one of those like fun like this. You should submit this on chess.com as like a 3300 tactic. And make them find like maiden 11 straight. Or the chess.
Yeah, or the chess, whatever. The advantage of these kind of positions, or in these kind of games rather, is the fact that I was forced from the outset because he's threatening so many different things on my king. So a lot of people like you clearly are getting your mind blown. But when you're in the moment, you're like, I have to do this because there's no other option. So even when the game ended, I didn't think I did anything special until tens of people approached me and were like, what did we just witness? Holy smoke.
Oh my god.
And my opponent was sporting enough to play until mate.
Yeah, because you like that, like, think about it, like the odds. Okay, like first of all, just to find anything like maiden 5 of that type of sequence. Yeah, in theory, after the queen takes, everything kind of looks a little bit obvious. But to be able to pull that off in a tournament classical setting at your level,
you don't get to see it too often.
Like, we can run the percentages on that. Wow, I think that's a good way to end it.
Matthew, always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Yes, you as well.
Wow.